The Horizon Party officially files a case at the Elections Commission to oust its vice leader Umar Nasir. Earlier, the disciplinary committee of the party had decided to oust its vice leader on grounds of misusing party property and going against its school of thought. Elections Commission confirmed this while Umar Nasir himself has filed a case at the commission stating he cannot be removed.
Umar Nasir, who was the president of the Islamic Democratic Party, joined DRP at the time of DRP's Congress, stating he was taking the side of the bigger and more powerful opposition. He contested to the post of vice leader of DRP and won by overwhelming support. He was campaigning to hold primaries to select a presidential candidate, but it failed to become party regulation when former President Maumoon Abdul Gayoom endorsed the party leader and dismissed the idea of primaries. Since then, political analysts started noticing the conflicting ideas between Umar Nasir and the rest of the party's leadership. When the party leadership dismissed a rally against the government that Umar had vouched, the small flicker of disputes started to become a huge flame. Umar went against the leadership and published a letter on the party's letterhead moving forward with the rally. With this, the disciplinary committee started investigating Umar to take necessary actions against him. In a statement by the committee, the decision to oust him was made public, stating incitement and sedition. With this decision, a lot of supporters of Umar came forward in his defense, and in a surprising move, party founder and former president Maumoon Abdul Gayoom too backed Umar's right to remain in the party. With this, the party started functioning as factions, and at present, Tasmin's faction is campaigning for the local council election, while Umar's faction is rallying up support to bring back former President Maumoon Abdul Gayoom to contest in the presidential elections of 2013. The Elections Commission says the case of DRP's vice leader Umar Nasir is now under review at the commission.
Leader of DRP Ahmad Tasmin Ali responds to the accusations by leader of its coalition party PA Abdullah Yamin's harsh criticism of his leadership. Last week, Yamin blamed the success of the current government on the poor leadership of Tasmin.
Last week, in a rally organized by the faction of DRP supporting its vice leader Umar Nasir, PA's president Abdullah Yamin strongly criticized the actions of the leadership of DRP. He accused the leader of the biggest opposition, DRP, Ahmad Tasmin Ali, having no leadership qualities and rendering the opposition useless. He said he was even surprised to see DRP calling themselves the opposition. Yamin said his leadership was behind the few successes of DRP and said the government is becoming more powerful due to the incapabilities of DRP. Last night, in a general meeting of DRP in Halif Diddu, leader of DRP Ahmad Tasmin Ali lashed back at Yamin's accusations and said while Yamin criticized DRP, Yamin has not been able to even maintain the required 3,000 people in his own party. He also attacked on the low number of candidates of PA at the local council elections, saying that the party could not even nominate 10 candidates to run for the councils. Tasmin also criticized Yamin's performance at the parliament, alleging that Yamin had unsatisfactory attendance and did not put in sufficient work in the parliament. He also said Yamin was trying to confuse the supporters of DRP for the upcoming local council elections. Internal disputes with DRP has escalated in recent months, with the party now having two factions, with supporters of party leader Ahmad Tasmin Ali and supporters of vice leader Umar Nasir, who is now backed by former President Maumoon Abdul Gayoom.
President Mohammad Nasheed says hosting the SAARC summit will put Urdu on the world map. Earlier today, President Mohammad Nasheed laid the foundation stone of Urdu Convention Center to be built in Hitadu to hold the SAARC summit. Last year, the government announced that this year's Heads of State and Government meeting of the South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation will be hosted by the Maldives and will be held in Urdu. Speaking at the groundbreaking ceremony of the Urdu Convention Center, President Nasheed said the government's aim of hosting the SAARC summit in Urdu was to put the atoll on the world map. He said the SAARC summit will mark Urdu's position on the map and ensure that everyone who crosses the Indian Ocean recognizes the potential in the geography of Urdu atoll. Noting that SAARC summit would be held in Urdu would be the first summit to be held in the Southern Hemisphere, he said the work that began today with the construction of the Urdu Convention Center marked the beginning of a defining chapter in the country's history. The President said the Maldives was located in a strategic position in the Indian Ocean and there were many avenues to maximize its advantages it obtained from its strategic geographic position. He said there were many island nations around the Maldives and very close to Addu Atoll that would want to develop with the Maldives and benefit from the development of Maldives. He said the building of the convention center in Hitherdu would not only benefit the people of Hitherdu or Addu but the whole country. The President said that the Addu Convention Center would be national pride as it would be one of the most state-of-the-art convention centers in South Asia. The President said the government aims to develop and maintain Addu Convention Center as a venue to hold conferences and conventions after the SAARC summit as well. After laying the foundation stone of Addu Convention Center, the President also inaugurated the SAARC unit established in Hitherdu to oversee and coordinate programs being made for this year's SAARC summit. Earlier this afternoon, the President visited Hitherdu Port and officially handed over the operation of Hitherdu Port to the Hitherdu Port Limited. He also visited Maradu and Hurdumidu of the atoll. Malé Health Centre informs that 37 people who were planning to travel to Sri Lanka have been vaccinated for the H1N1 virus. The Centre for Community Health and Disease Control started vaccinating Maldivians traveling to Sri Lanka last week due to the H1N1 outbreak in Sri Lanka. Vaccinated people are people with high risk of getting infected by the H1N1 virus, including pregnant women, children and people under long-term medication. CCHDC informs that the vaccine is administered 2 weeks prior to the trip. Last week, the centre informed that only 200 doses of influenza remained in the country, making the centre screen for high-risk patients before giving the shots. Last year, a number of countries and organizations donated the vaccine and a total of over 25,000 people have been vaccinated since. 70,000 people were registered during last year's screening as people with high risk of being infected by the virus. Parents of Madrasatul Arabiyatul Islamiyah files a case at the civil court stating that the students have been deprived of their rights for education. In a press conference held today, former Attorney General who represents the parents said the case is filed to fight for over 700 students who have lost their rights to education. Last year, students of Arabia were temporarily transferred to the premises of Mandu College as the original infrastructure of Arabia was at life-threatening conditions. Parents at the presser today said students lost a lot of resources with the transfer. They said the children lost a proper library and a small premise prevented them from adequate space for extracurricular activities. Recently, mass protests erupted over the government's decision to move the new building of Arabia to a smaller land plot. But the government had assured that though the building is moved to a smaller plot, the building would be up to modern educational standards and could house more students than it currently does. The first Divehi keyboard hits the markets today. The keyboard named Washfila is manufactured by IL Tech Company. It includes both Divehi and English keys. The keyboard also includes keys which link to Havir Online, MNBC Online and the Diragu website. Managing Director of IL Tech, Mohammad Mallah, said the keyboard includes a favorites button which stores Divehi dictionary and applications which will be useful in writing Thana text. The government opens up bids to develop resorts in 5 islands to collect funds to build domestic airports. The 5 islands includes 3 in Gaf Alif Atoll, 1 in Gaf Dal Atoll and 1 in Addu Atoll. Ministry of Tourism is now selling the bid documents at a rate of 2,000 rupiah for locals and $300 to foreigners. It said more information on the bid evaluation process will be published later this week. Now a look at international news. The